Hi friends! Today's story is the story of Ferdinand. You know what? I remember this book from when I was a little kid. I used to love this book. I was probably about your age. And I remember it very well from when I was little. So let's get started with the story of Ferdinand. It's written by Munro Leaf and it is illustrated by Robert Lawson and it's published by Puffin books. Once upon a time in Spain, there was a little bull and his name was Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. But not Ferdinand. He liked to just sit quietly and smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot out in the pasture under a cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in its shade all day and smell the flowers. That does sound nice. Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid that he would be lonesome all by himself. That's his mother, and she's looking on at Ferdinand under his favorite tree. She doesn't want him to be lonely. "Why don't you run and play with the other little bulls and skip and butt your head?" she would say. But Ferdinand would shake his head. "I like it better here where I can just sit quietly and smell the flowers." His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she let him just sit there and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. Look how big Ferdinand got. All the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture would fight each other all day. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. What they wanted most of all was to be picked to fight at the bullfights in Madrid. But not Ferdinand. He still liked to sit just quietly under the cork tree and smell the flowers. One day, 5 men came in very funny hats to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. All the other bulls ran around snorting and butting, leaping and jumping, so that the men would think they were very, very strong and fierce and pick them. Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him, and he didn't care. So he went out to his favorite cork tree to sit down. He didn't look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on the nice, cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Ouch. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him. And that's just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Look at Ferdinand's face. Look at his eyes. What do you think he's thinking? Wow, did it hurt. Ferdinand jumped up with a snort. He ran around puffing and snorting, butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. The 5 men saw him and they all shouted with joy. Here was the largest and fiercest bull of all, just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. So they saw Ferdinand running around because he got stung by a bumblebee, but they didn't know he had just gotten stung by a bumblebee. they thought he was just running around kicking and snorting and acting all crazy like that. Oh boy. So they took him away for the bullfight day in a cart. And there goes Ferdinand in the cart. What a day it was. Flags were flying, bands were playing. And all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. They had a parade into the bull ring. First came the banderilleros with long, sharp pins with ribbons on them to stick in the bull and make him mad. Ouch. Next came the picadors, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull and make him even madder. Picadors? Picadores? Something like that. Then came the matador, the proudest of all. He thought he was very handsome, and he bowed to the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword and was supposed to stick the bull last of all. Then came the bull, and you know who that was, don't you? Ferdinand. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and all the banderilleros were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff. Look at their faces. How do you think they're feeling? I mean, it kind of tells you there, didn't I just tell you? They're all scared, aren't they? But if we go back a page, I meant to mention this. Look at Ferdinand, okay? He's supposed to be this like big, strong, scary bull, but look at Ferdinand. How do you think Ferdinand is feeling? How does he look like he's feeling? He looks like he's really scared too, don't you think? So everybody's scared here. Let's see what happens. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers in all the lovely ladies' hair, and he just sat down quietly and smelled. He wouldn't fight and be fierce, no matter what they did. He just sat there and smelled. And the banderilleros were mad, and the picadores were madder, and the matador was so mad he cried because he couldn't show off with his cape and sword. So they had to take Ferdinand home. And for all I know, he's sitting there still under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly. He is very happy. The end. So that was the story of Ferdinand. This story has been around for a long time because, like I told you at the beginning of this video, I remember this from when I was a little girl, and I know it was out way before that even. So I'm going to look right now and I'm going to tell you when this book was first published. 1936. Wow, that's pretty cool. I hope you guys enjoyed that story, and I will be back with another one very soon, probably tomorrow. So I will see you then. Bye, friends.